What is going on, guys? One Purpose Fishing here today with a fishing tips video. Now today I'm going to be telling you something that probably everybody has been wondering about this time of the year, is what fall baits are good to use. What really works in the fall? Well, as you transition into the fall, you have the bass moving from the deeps up to the shallow. And what they're doing is they're chasing the bait fish up shallow, which is where they're going to be feeding most of the time. So I have my 5 favorite baits that I would use in the fall, and I'm going to tell you what they are. So let's get started. So the 5 baits I've chosen today is I have a Topwater, 2 swim baits, a crank, and then a soft plastic. So let's go ahead and start off with the Topwater. So my Topwater that I have today is a Bagley Knocker B. Now the thing I like most about this is it's a Topwater walking bait. Walking baits always work really well in the fall time. This one has a little white tail on the end. For some reason, the little white feathers that they have on the end of these walking baits just drive the bass crazy. This one has a little knocking sound in it. And so whenever you're working it, that pops back and it makes a popping noise every time you walk it. That's one of the reasons I choose to use this. Now, as you're entering into the fall, they're going to be chasing bait fish. Now, depending on where you live, the bait fish are either going to be shad or bluegill. Now, this one, it has the dot that resembles a shad, but it also has kind of a bluegill color to it. You can see as the picture I placed up really gives you a better look at it. But so that's the bait that the Topwater bait that I would use, and you know it's a walking bait, so you just walk the dog with it on top of the water. So let's go ahead and move on to the next bait. For the next bait, I'm going to go ahead and move into the cranks. The bass chase craws really big in the fall time. They usually feed up in the rocks, which I fish a lot of rocks. So what I throw is a square bill, which right here I have another Bagley crankbait. And this guy is super tiny and it's craw colored. The reason I choose to use a square bill is the square bill is going to deflect off the rocks and the brush underneath the water and just resemble a craw that's really scurrying through the rocks and everything, and the bass will go after that. So I choose to use a square bill craw by Bagley Baits, and it's small, so it's going to catch all kinds of fish, super sharp hooks. And so yeah, I just throw it up on rocks because that's where the craws are mostly going to be. So that's where I would throw this bait. Let's go ahead and move on to the swim baits. The first swim bait I'm going to be showing you is this the Shad Swimbait. The reason I choose to use Shad Swimbait, like I just said, they're going to be chasing the schools of bait fish, and a lot of bass, at least in my area, are chasing shad. So the thing I like most about this is it has a magnetic hook to it, so it just stays up right there. It makes it to where you don't get stuck as often, and so since they're really chasing the shad, you're really going to be wanting to throw something that's shad colored. If you don't have any shad in the lakes near you, then go ahead and throw bluegill. So yeah, once again, I would just throw this up on rocks or in little coves, especially whenever it's windy. You're going to be wanting to fish up in little points where the wind is blowing up and it's blowing up the schools of bait fish. And so you can throw this right in there and you're probably most definitely going to catch a bass on one of these. So, like I was saying, shad-colored cranks, shad-colored swim baits are going to dominate. Now, I said bluegill too, which leads me to my next thing. I have a bluegill swim bait right here by Savage Gear. This is one of their 3D scanned products. It's soft and it's extremely realistic, about as realistic as you're possibly going to get with a bait. These Savage Gear baits, they have the hooks that they stick in the top of the bait and in the bottom of the bait, so they don't get hooked up as much, and you can choose to have them loose or choose to have them in. But once again, I throw this up on the rocks because that's where they're going to be feeding. That's where the fish are going to be swimming out. So that's where you would throw one of these, and swim baits just, for some reason, they just dominate because they resemble the bait so well. And that's really what the bass are going after, because the bass are chasing the shad and the bluegill. So that's why I would choose to throw this bait, which leads me on to my last bait. For fall, the bass will stick to the bottom of the water, and so I choose to get a little shaky head right here. I got a Cabin Creek buoy worm on here, and the buoy worms are hollow. So what it's gonna do is whenever it's sitting down, it's gonna sit straight up, just like that. And then whenever you bounce it, it's gonna bend a little bit, and then it's gonna sit straight up. And so this is gonna make those bass strike if they're sitting down at the bottom of the water. So that's really why I choose to use that. For whenever they're just chilling on the bottom, I immediately pull out one of these and catch a fish. So that's why I choose to use this bait. So that's really all I got for you guys. Those are my top 5 fall baits. Now these are just the best baits that I've experienced and the best baits in my opinion to be throwing. There's all sorts of good baits you can be using. You can be throwing jigs with craw trailers. Those work really well. Or spinner baits, because spinner baits resemble schools of fish. You can also throw those as well. You can also throw some topwater poppers, and those work really well. But these are just my personal preference on baits to use during the fall time. So let me just recap this real quick. You're going to be wanting to throw bluegill and shad colored items, because that's what the bass are really going to be feeding on about this time of the year. And they're going to be feeding up shallow, so you're going to want to be fishing the rocks, and you're going to be wanting to fish cover and brush up on the shore, on the bank. That's where you're really going to have most bass, and they're going to be chasing through there, just chasing those schools of fish. So bluegill and shad are just going to dominate. And whenever they're sitting on the bottom, you want to be either, I prefer a shaky head, but another thing that would work is throwing just craws, dragging them along the bottom on the rocks, because that'll also cause the bass to strike. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. That's my top 5 baits for the fall. I really hope you enjoyed this video and learned something and have chosen one of my baits to use for yourself during the fall time. Anyways, guys, best of luck for you for fishing this fall on One Purpose Fishing, and thanks for watching.